I don't say this very often, and I don't buy into hero worship, and we'll always call balls and strikes and where he's wrong. And of course, President Trump is wrong sometimes. We will point that out. But I would say this, there's been a deeply personal change in my view of world economics, not because of some think tank, not because of some libertarian magazine, but because I saw the results for 3 years, and I was awakened to the rigging of the game internationally. We cannot hold hands and sing "We Are the World" when a good portion of that world wants to see you suffer, when a good portion of that world wants to see you fail. This obviously seems like a victory lap that we are going to be winning this election. Don't let them steal it from you. And we are still going to be here until this election is called on election night, November 2024. Couple of things I wanted to touch on here, if I can have the floor for just a second. Nick made a great point. Nick DiPaolo, funniest man alive. He's going to be in Duluth, Georgia, August 10th. You can go to nickdip.com for his dates. He made a point that Donald Trump went long tonight. And I know that the media will talk about that. We'll get to CNN and their coverage in a little bit. We'll continue the drinking game. It was very insightful. And I mean that because tonight, Biden just lost. And I mean that in the sense that his people tonight just said, Joe, you can't do this. There is no way that former Vice President Joe Biden, there's no way that he could give a speech that long. There's no way that he could do it without tripping up. Think about what just happened and think about the opponent on the other side of that docket who wouldn't be able to do it. I think what you just heard tonight, and hopefully we have the clip that I requested there, Noodles. I want to put this in context. This is providential, and I do mean that not just because he didn't die when someone tried to assassinate him. Let's look at the contrast here. This is a very rare moment in American history. 2016, he talked about illegal immigration. He was accused of being a racist. Well, that's changed now. They tried to destroy him by saying he was a racist. No one believes it really anymore because Americans know that illegal immigration is a problem. You contrast to talking about reducing taxes in 2016. That was the era of socialist politics, right? Of the rich need to pay their fair share. It was a dirty term to say cut taxes. That's not the same anymore because people have lived it. He has a leg to stand on that he couldn't have had without this redemption arc. And they have done everything they can to take him out. Think about this. When you think of the weaponizing of the DOJ, when you think of the weaponizing of our justice system, think former Vice President Joe Biden, even though we know he's not running things, think the DNC, think of the fact that they indicted him, they tried to convict him, they tried to destroy his reputation, take away his business, everything all the way down to undervaluating Mar-a-Lago to $18 million, claiming that he lied on a loan that was paid back with interest and the bank was happy. They tried to take everything from this man, from his personal life to his private sector, professional life, to his public sector legacy. He couldn't have planned this. He couldn't have planned that Americans would see the problem of illegal immigration. He couldn't have planned that COVID would have happened and that the left would have dropped the ball in trying to resuscitate this economy. He couldn't have planned that someone out there would try and assassinate him and fail. A lot of things have come together. And at the same moment in time, when Biden has been truly assassinating his character, trying to take everything they can from him, and I'll get into in a moment how this has actually changed me personally, by any means necessary, take him out. And tonight, him going for an hour and a half, an hour, 40 minutes, we'll have that clock in just a few moments. He was up there. He was as energetic as he's been. He was more subdued, but don't mistake that for lack of intensity. He delivered a message that resonates with the American people because of his resume and because of the failures of the left who were trying to destroy him and his legitimacy. This was as close as we have seen in our life. And I'm not doing a Cory Booker Spartacus here. I mean it. The most apt comparison is after trying to destroy him, take him out, and embarrass him in front of the public. It's comparable to that scene, William Wallace, where he still screamed freedom, and Longshanks, with his last breath, said, I didn't say anything. He rolled his eyes over and realized, shit, it didn't work. We tried to take him out, and here he is, and he's still championing the same cause. because Biden can't. Tonight, they are going to have a talk with him on his bed. They are going to say, you can't do this. Everything you tried didn't work. He's still there, and he's inspiring people. Think of this scene when you think of what just happened tonight. Biden is Longshanks. He's done. The sun has just set on his campaign. And I want to, you guys let me know. We're going to get to Gerald in just a second, I'm sure, and we have people on the ground. But I'd like for you guys to comment below. This is considered antithetical to what we're supposed to do. I mean, we come from a background in comedy, so it's different. We admit that we screw up all the time. But in media, they never want to admit that they were wrong. Now, I can't run from my record, my past, because you've been watching me here on YouTube since 2006, 2009. You know exactly where I line up. I certainly would have been considered more libertarian in the past. And there aren't many individuals who I can say have had as much of an impact on changing me and my perspective. That's what Donald Trump has done with me. So I used to be close to a fair trade advocate because I believed in open markets. And I thought that economic protectionism was a problem. I thought that it was crony capitalism. And because of the administration, the Trump administration, I've realized that, look, I was wrong. I've changed my mind. And I would like for you to comment below where you've changed your mind. There's nothing capitalist. There's nothing that resembles free enterprise or the ideology therein. There's nothing that resembles sort of the economics of Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations, or certainly going to Thomas Sowell. When you are dealing with nations that do not have the best interest of your country at heart, who want to see you fail. Where I have changed is I thought a laissez-faire approach was the right approach. And I think it would be in a world where everyone shared the same values, but they don't. Yeah. And because of that, man, I will tell you, because of that, man, my mind has been changed where I understand that for us to have freedom, for this country to actually have an open marketplace, and the exchange of goods and services, and for the American people to thrive, the American people, this nation, these borders matter because they need to be protected from foreign threats. It's not a change in principles. This is what the left will try and say. Well, what happened to your principles? No, hold on a second. We never once engaged in that kind of trade, for example, with the USSR. Why would we do it today with China? Why would we do it with nations that have a vested interest in seeing us shut down our own energy reserves? Why would we engage in this kind of open, quote unquote, or fair trade with nations who want to use it to punish the American people while they benefit from our ingenuity? I don't say this very often, and I don't buy into hero worship and will always call balls and strikes and where he's wrong. And of course, President Trump is wrong sometimes. We will point that out. But I will say this, there's been a deeply personal change in my view of world economics, not because of some think tank, not because of some libertarian magazine, but because I saw the results for 3 years and I was awakened to the rigging of the game internationally. We cannot hold hands and sing "We Are the World" when a good portion of that world wants to see you suffer, when a good portion of that world wants to see you fail. And so if you try and pull the J.D. Vance and say, well, Steven Crowder was anti-Trump. Yeah, in 2016, that's absolutely true. I have no shame in that because I thought he was a Democrat in 2016. Guess what? We don't need to run from that. To point out that someone has had such an impact, has been such a lightning rod that we have actually changed our minds on some fundamental issues, not because the principles have changed, but because our understanding of the circumstances have been illuminated. That's the kind of mind changing that we shouldn't run from. When people talk about changing their minds, we're not talking about changing your principles. We're talking about remaining steadfast to your principles in the presence of new information. And there has never been, in my lifetime, any political figure who has made it so apparent, who shined a light on new information as relevantly as that man right there. I am no longer a silly, naive, idealistic libertarian because I know that it wouldn't be congruent, it wouldn't be consistent with my principles. That's why I'm vested in this election. That's why it's the first time I've ever endorsed a presidential candidate, and that's why I think this is the most important election of our lifetime. Comment below if that's happened with you.
But you changed because you yourself listened and used your own mind to change. People on the left let the media do their thinking for them.
Right.
You have to take it in yourself and decide yourself.
Yep.
That media, and they dominate the media. They dominate it in numbers and everything.
Yep.
And as long as that's in the way, there's going to be enough people out there who don't have the time to put in the effort you do to listen and to, you know what I mean? They got families, you do too, but this is what you do for a living. A lot of people don't have time. They take in bits, sound bites here and there.
A brain surgeon could be watching right now and doesn't have time to follow it.
That
doesn't mean you're dumb. It means that you don't do this for a living. And so when intelligentsia treats you as though, that was what was so brilliant, I think, tonight, when he talked about a waitress in Nevada. I've learned this, I had a mechanic work on my car who had fewer teeth than you have fingers.
That's
and he was one of the most brilliant people I've ever heard in my life. I realized, wow, you can actually learn something from anyone. And the difference, when people used to talk about the Republican Party as it was an elitist party of the billionaire class, that has been turned on its head. He made that the centerpiece of his speech tonight. And I just don't think there's any, I'd be willing to guarantee you, as close to a guarantee as I can provide, that after tonight, Joe Biden will not be the nominee.
I was just going to say that.
Watch Ladder with Crowder live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.